We're here at the EB-5 Investor Magazine and U Global event, and we're talking to the industry's best professionals. And I'm standing here with Steve Pazan, former USCIS Adjudicator and one of the top EB-5 experts that I've ever met. So, Steve, why don't you help introduce yourself to everyone and your services and expertise?
In addition to being a former USCIS Adjudicator, I'm also a former United States Department of State Consular Officer. I was assigned to issue visas in both Bogota, Kiev, Santiago, and of course I worked in Washington, D.C. So I like to think that I have a perspective of how the agencies work together in the EB-5 space, and that includes both the Department of State on the visa function as well as USCIS. I'm also a lawyer by trade. Right now I'm providing services to the EB-5 industry in both the legal end of things and also as a consultant. So whether I build the work out as a lawyer or whether I build it out as a consultant depends on the nature of the work. I like to say that I'm doing three things right now. One, I'm trying to fix broken cases. So in the rare situations where people in the industry have problems and they're getting RFEs, NOIDs, whatever, that are outside of the capacity of the law firms and other experts to handle, they'll come to me and I'll help figure those things out for their investors. I do a little bit of mandamus litigation, mostly delay cases and some more complicated cases. And in addition to that, I'm providing consular processing help to people. On that last one, I like to say that's an area that we don't give enough attention to. If somebody has spent years waiting for an EB-5 visa or any other kind of visa, and spent a lot of money and worked with attorneys and worked very hard to get themselves to the point where they're having a consular interview, you don't want to blow it there. So in particular, in cases where there might be some sensitivity, I'll work with the client and I'll try to help prepare them for the interview. And then when things go bad, when things go south, I'll also try to work with the Department of State in order to get them to a better result. That's a very difficult proposition, and it requires a sort of a deft touch and a very gentle approach because we don't really have a lot of leverage with the Department of State. So those are the spaces that I try to fill. That's why I'm here to help out.
Looking at the consular processing process, like say you survive the whole EB-5 approval, what is like kind of the first general coaching element that you're going to tell somebody when they're about to go in for these interviews?
Tell the truth. I know that sounds very basic, but some of this is cultural. In the United States, we're in a social environment right now where we overshare, where we like to tell everybody everything that's ever happened to us, all of our problems, who my daddy is, who my mother is, and all this stuff. And that's not necessarily a comfortable place to be for a lot of people from other countries in the world. And it's very difficult for somebody who's not used to doing that to walk up to a total stranger and to kind of put it all out on the table and to say, here's who I am, here are my problems, here are my challenges. But you do have to do that to a certain extent. And if you don't tell the truth, and if you don't do that openly and honestly to an American, right, so this is a cultural thing. To an American, that smells like falsity. You can't allow that to happen in a consular interview because the minute that consular officer feels, even if it's not justified, the minute they feel that you're hiding something or holding something back, they will immediately think that you're holding everything back and you're not trustworthy. As a lawyer, I can tell you I've tried cases in front of juries in U.S. courts, and there is an instruction that judges give to juries on a regular basis that really, I think, characterizes the American view of credibility. And that's if you find that one piece of evidence is falsified, then you're entitled to disbelieve everything you've been told. So this false in one, false in all approach is something that you have to pay close attention to when you're trying to convince an American of something.
Steve, the RIA policy is now in full effect. It's our first full year of really operating under the new policy. What do you see as being different for an adjudicator today with the new RIA versus the life before?
With the USCIS adjudicators, a lot of this is guesswork. At today's conference here, a lot of the experts that have spoken are admitting that we don't really know what structures are going to be enacted within the investor program office. The problem is We don't know what the adjudicator's day-to-day instructions with regard to the new set-asides, etc., are going to be. That's as best I can answer the question. Nobody knows.
With that, if there's a general consensus that people don't know, what should we be doing to put our best foot forward in front of USCIS?
The same thing that we've always been doing. The RIA was enacted because it supposedly reflects the intention of Congress. And so we just have to pick the horse that we've been given, and we have to ride it. And do what we're doing, do what you guys are doing, get these cases in, sign these people up, fill it out based on our past practices, and just hope that things work out. And as an industry, if we present to USCIS a particular approach, the adjudicators and the people that are calling the shots at the investor program office will be more inclined to just adopt that approach. I don't think we can sit back and do nothing, because then we're leaving it up to the agency to decide what the law is and what the policy should be. We set that policy based on the law by our actions and by continuing forward, business as usual in this new environment that we've been given. That's the best I can answer that one.
Well, Steve, thank you very much.